good?
It's working.
Cutting your finger up?
No, you know, I dropped this. It came out.
Stable the function. I just don't want you to cut your finger.
Oh,
or
no.
anything. Otherwise, we can tell you. I'll order a new one, but if you want, we can set you. We can set you up on a spare one until the new one comes, or if you want to just keep using that one. that's fine. Okay. Well, I brought the other one up just in case, so if it gets weird and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
No, I'm talking about just regular things. We don't have to be.
What's not happening?
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Great.
Bye. You know I know. I'm okay.
How are you? Oh, I thought you knew there for something.
Gotten them to your desk. You can play that part.
Can I get one too?
No, you can share.
I left mine down on my desk. Hi. Hi. Oh, yeah.
They could tell you he went and got me
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah. He's so nice.
He's
He really is.
just a heart, like such a big heart, and we have a lot of people who think we're, I think.
Yeah. Great. Yourself?
Well, the last couple that we've had.
What's the heat treating?
Why not bring my computer?
garden this morning and an hour and a half this afternoon. That's all I can handle.
Thank you.
I use barrels in my garden about this high for water. And every once in a while I'd go and stick my arms in there as deep as I could. It's warm water, you know, it's 90-degree water. Let it run down my
I
arms.
forgot some here. Never mind.
You going?
Yeah.
We'll see if this sucker works. Hi there. You're just in time to help me with my computer.
Yeah, I turned mine on yet, so I may need help too. Remember, these things don't like me. Yeah, she's up front now.
This is my second time up here.
Well, I guess that's right, yeah.
Jeez,
Brandon, how are you?
I hate this sucker.
Megan?
I have a spare for you.
Really?
No, someone else over here.
Alright.
No,
I still have another one down there. Is there a cord still there?
There's Oh, mine went through them. Sometimes they have a mind of their own, I know that. Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe I
No,
don't have a
it's,
spare.
That's kind of like my wife.
Sign
Signed it a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's, I wasn't. That's why we were-
Yeah, it'll be okay, Bob. Somebody will. It'll be okay.
I'm gonna grab the other one though.
Okay. Thank you.
Don't go away.
He's coming back.
Hope so.
You need him?
Yeah.
Megan. Did you get those from him?
I was gonna say, I'm short term.
How are you?
Good.
I just know that this.
Hi, Mary. Great. How was your vacation?
It was great.
I think that.
Great.
Good to be back, but it is. So it's good to come home.
Yeah, it is. It is that.
Then I got to take care of my mom. She's 90, could be 94. So being away for weeks.
Mm,
Yeah.
no, it's,
Too many things.
Do you want to sign up for a break? Or you you want to sign up?
yeah, and it's probably hard on her too. You're not around, you know.
Yeah.
Even-
She hates it.
Oh.
Even if I'm gone overnight. she's sorry. Yeah. She'll take a flight and I'm gone overnight, so.
Really correct. And I. So we said over to. Yeah. Hey, Barry.
Hello, boss. Like,
Good. That's okay. No. Hey, John.
me neither.
No, I've got your photograph stuff here. If you wouldn't mind just signing this one real quick, then I
Turn
can
the air
get it
conditioner.
back. See what's-
You're warm. I wasn't.
Okay.
Very cool, it's just different.
Okay, and that's basically word.
This is
I mean, have it to last.
Okay.
Meeting.
Really? You're just like Pam. It could be 80 in the house and she's got a blanket.
It was not. We do have cabin.
Well, that's
And he did,
meeting. Two or three?
Well, that's what.
I don't think he didn't sign for. And the rest of these can be,
See, last Monday.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay.
Good, how are you?
Three in a row.
Cool.
Before you sit down there, you wanna come back
January or.
and adjust mine.
We're gonna make a little name tag for him over there.
I got a crescent ring. I finally got to get my stuff. No, it's not of them.
I don't even know my.
No.
I've had.
I finally got to get my emails. Which one you go with?
okay, so we're gonna. Megan, you want me to? Motion things off here. Well,
Lindsay had mentioned something.
Yeah.
But sure.
well, I wasn't, see, I was just picking people as they raise their hand.
Let's keep.
Do it that way. Okay, I'm all right with that. Yep. Okay. Then we will put that on. Is, okay.
I think the way you. the flow of the way-
Okay, and then they vote, when they come to voting.
Then when we come to voting, we'll have all of the voting as well.
How are you?
Yep, yep, I think that's the way to do it. Okay, yeah, and you'll just record.
Yeah, thankfully we didn't get hit with hardly anything. It's good. We had a couple of trees go down that we probably should have addressed a while ago. So, no biggie. How about you guys?
That's in the regular public comments, okay. Yeah.
I was running over on the east end.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay.
Oh, jeepers.
Yeah, that's what I.
I bet.
Now, and we can interact with them. Okay, that's, I have no idea. I looked it up and I couldn't find it.
I'm just.
All right.
Jesse,
Barry.
No.
Okay, this one.
It's shutting down.
Okay,
You'll open the public hearing. Sometimes I know it's
okay.
It's still there.
Yeah, we.
Oh, moving to Plainfield.
Trying to say.
Such a nice house. Oh, yeah.
We're lost in town.
That's it.
Um,
That's what Todd was saying that.
Yeah, it's, you know where Ruffalo's?
Yeah.
Bobby and,
Yeah.
and.
This is an
and,
unpredictable.
Lu-
Yeah.
Lucy?
Yeah.
It's their house, their old house. They sold it. So they kept the land in the back. When we had the house and the yard, then they let us use a shed and,
It's nice.
but they kept the rest of it.
This house was nice.
Oh, yeah.
It was well built house.
Yeah. The guy that moved in, I think he's done a lot of changes on it. Yeah, he's studying to be an electrician.
Okay.
So I think he's going through rewiring the whole place and all kinds of stuff, I think. And I know he's replaced some carpet and stuff already.
Just wait now, because sometimes I'll get two or three and then it quits.
I haven't seen them. And Pat King. He's over here.
But was that like? fixing up something?
Mark Gatsby. Oh, yeah, he's got a thing there.
He says, well, they're all done. Got them going, but a little more. This is I should check what comments. I think he said the list of 80.
That's what happened. It only had like two or three dots,
Yeah.
and I didn't know how to go back and start it again.
Oh, and that's okay.
Just tell me what I should do.
Just hit the backspace.
You wouldn't have to talk too much. There.
Thank you.
And you and open this guy.
I guess it's good insurance.
Is that your meeting thing?
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Well, let's just check everybody.
Yes, the village owns that road, falls over the east.
They do.
Yeah, that's weird.
I was.
They said it would be-
99% sure.
It'd be 7.5.
From the gate into the.
How would it be there?
Talked up you, from the gate all the way in, so
I knew,
township is, yeah.
highway took over solid waste. So that no, okay.
Any bets on where Mike comes tonight?
What's that?
Any bets where he sits tonight?
There's computers there. No, I didn't see it.
They bet.
Steven, are you able to get connected in
Oh, that'll wait just.
meeting manager?
I was the last.
How are you?
The last one.
They
forced it.
There was a couple of them, but I kind of give in to.
Mine is too. Just kind of holding until we got.
Russell, Heisey and I, the last two.
I don't get to keep it, but it's nice to touch it, but now I don't even get to touch it. The town sees it. That's it. Oh.
Hey, Bob.
She's like, I'll never. Right? I got you now.
If we got someone that forgot.
Yes, yes.
Mine are-
Mike.
Start doing that.
I'm no use for it here.
I can sign in, I suppose. How's that?
I got you, Martin.
See?
Did he? We met the best.
I don't know, maybe have to give a couple minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna be a couple minutes past.
It'll get up in the world.
I know I gives me.
Why short people want to be so old?
I was waiting on the floors.
I get that.
Okay. Okay. Maybe it's.
He still retreats. You know where the Hammerstrom place is? So we bought that, as like part of our family's hunting land. And then in 2015, so, we converted a section of it over into,
Planning and zoning, after planning and zoning, so you see stuff. Yeah.
My wife and I do that.
Yeah, I bet that.
We're gonna be having a hearing for the East Central, for withdrawing from the East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. So if anyone would like to speak to that or testify to that, there are some cards to fill out up here. So, or else just public comments, there's cards too. That's a separate thing. So.
How are you?
Mike.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay, we'll call a meeting to order. We'll start out with roll call. Go ahead and sign in on your tablets for roll call. Okay. All right. So let's stand for a silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, by Mr. Bonfiglio, a second. Second. Second by Mr. Peterson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes from the May 17, 2022 monthly meeting. Motion by Mr. Wadle, second by Mr. Bonfiglio. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes. Okay, at this time, we'll go into the public hearing regarding Waushara County's withdrawal from the East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. Unless we have another one, we have one person that has signed up to speak, Kevin Engelbert from East Central. And Kevin, just so you know, you have unlimited time. It's not like our regular comments. And if any of us afterwards want to interact, or if you want us to interact or whatever, we can do that as well. So,
Okay. It's
okay.
a little hot out. I didn't prepare a long speech.
No, okay.
but,
Well, that's good. That's good.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Engelbert. I'm the Deputy Director at East Central Regional Planning Commission. Our Executive Director, Melissa Kramer-Backey, she couldn't make it tonight. She's traveling. Otherwise, I know she wanted to be here to address you herself. So I don't have a whole lot to say. We sent a memo kind of detailing at least our thought process about the potential withdrawal from the commission and what that would mean for Waushara County. Obviously, from our standpoint, we want Waushara County to remain a member of the commission. We've had a couple of conversations with Waushara County staff. This is probably going back to December about the value of the commission membership and what we can do as a commission to provide value to Waushara County. I think there are things we can do within our programs and within our funding mix to make it a value proposition for Waushara County. And we'd encourage more conversation to that end to figure out what does success look like from Waushara County's perspective from the commission. We've been a commission for 50 years. We're a team of 20 planners. We're based in the Fox Cities. Waushara County's been a member of the commission since we started. And we think that's important. We have had a history in the county. We've done comprehensive planning. We've done safe routes to school planning, economic development work, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to share a message that we want Waushara County to be part of the commission, that we believe we have a stronger region with Waushara County and the commission. And with that, I'd take any questions that you have.
Anybody have any questions for Kevin?
Maybe I have a question for whoever brought this before the county board. Why do we want to get out of the commission?
I would, we can talk about that when we get to the thing too, but or else Melissa, if you want to.
When I first started, I was asked to look into East Central, and I sent you all a memo about all the reasons. And so I was asked to look into it and also look into like economic development and how we can possibly pair with some other counties very similar situated to us. I met with East Central and Mr. Waller from zoning. I also met with Donna in East Central, and we met also with Stephanie from GIS to kind of explore the options and some of the value that we had with East Central, like with our comprehensive planning, regional comprehensive planning. They used to do those for us and they no longer can do those for us. We have to outsource that, and that's going to have to be done by all the towns. That's not something that they do anymore. This commission, other commissions throughout the state, they still do this piece. So we met to see what sort of things were they doing with us. I was asked to reach out to all of our departments and got an overwhelming response that we aren't working with East Central Planning on much of anything. And we met with the departments, and that was we could probably use this money for another purpose. And one would be economic development to pair with potentially Green Lake, Adams, and Marquette. So those are some of the reasons.
And you,
For East Central.
It's based every year on a levy, but it has, what was it, like 20?
It's
30 to 40,000.
24,896 right now. So I do want to say just kind of one follow up on that. About 2 years ago, the commission entered into an intergovernmental agreement with Outagamie County to restructure the commission. With that, there's been a concerted effort to drop our levy dues. So for example, Waushara County's dues dropped from 40,000 2 years ago down to about 25,000. Along with that came a decision to no longer do comprehensive plans that were paid for by the commission levy dues. We still do comprehensive planning, but we do it on a contracted basis with the communities who we're actually doing the comprehensive plan for. In the past, we used to do that with the levy funds, but then it a lot of times became, while the counties share those levy funds, how many are you doing in each county? And it was hard to keep up with, well, if we're doing, 2 in Winnebago County this year, 2 in Shawano, then what are the other counties getting with that? That's why we went to a contracted form for comprehensive planning.
Do you know, no, our levy amount is set in July. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know what that is going to be for this year? Do you have an idea?
We're still working it out. It'll probably rise a little bit. And the reason for that is because with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, we're leveraging a lot more transportation funding in for things like our regional transportation program, our MPO funding. And we use the local levy match to try to match those funds. So when we get transportation money, 85% of that comes from the federal government. We use the county levy strategically as our 15% local match so that we can leverage those federal resources into our region. So it would go up. It won't be back up to 40 where it was 2 years ago, but my guess would be around 30 or so for next year.
And I guess from our standpoint, I guess we have just talked to staff and we just looked at it as a business decision because they just weren't using it. So I guess that's what prompted us to.
And just 2 other things is Green Lake was, I don't know if they ever were part of the group, but they are not part of the planning commission group here, and Marquette had pulled out a few years ago, 2000-ish. And reason is they just didn't feel like they were getting the resources dedicated to the smaller regions, which is sort of how we feel. And again, it was just looking at how we're using county dollars is what I was asked to do. And if we can use it for economic development in another way, maybe that's what we should do. Again, it's nothing personal. I mean, the folks there are extremely nice people. Like was just something we were tasked with.
Okay.
Are they not offering the service to the county, or are we just choosing not to participate with them?
From what we've gotten from our staff, they've reached out to them and haven't gotten the services. That's the response we've gotten. Yeah, Mr. Waddle.
Say we were out for a while, I posed that to you.
Mhm.
We were out for a year, 2 years, said, oh, maybe we dropped the ball on this, we want to get back in. Is there any penalties? We change our mind in a year or 2 years and say, well, maybe there is something that you can do for us. I mean, just,
I mean, theoretically, you can rejoin. It'd be up to our commission to accept Waushara County back. And I guess I can't speak for the other 7-member counties. It's, I just can't speak for them. But theoretically, yes, you could come
Isn't
back.
it in the statutes that we're part of that regional planning? I mean, I don't know that you could deny us access. I mean, because we're part of your region.
Perhaps. Again, we've not had that scenario. Marquette County withdrew 20 years ago, I think, or no, Green Lake 20 years ago and Marquette 30 years ago. I don't think so. We haven't had that history.
but you would still, like, to the townships, offer the comprehensive planning if they so chose to do it on their own?
Could your townships do their own comprehensive planning?
No,
Yeah.
Could we do it through you? Would you do it?
Mm.
Because they did it for our township back in the day.
Yeah.
Well,
No, we would not contract with them if Waushara wasn't a member county.
so we couldn't get in on that. We'd have to get some independent.
Correct. Yeah, your towns would have to either do it internally or get a contract.
I had a question.
Yes.
Sorry, regarding the Main Street Bounce Back grants program.
Yeah.
So, I saw there's $190,000 that went to Waushara County businesses for improving vacant buildings. And so this might be a question for you, Melissa, is there, it's two ways, I guess. Is that a grant program that's just strictly offered through you guys, or like for gaps like that, services that might be benefiting citizens in Waushara County? Are we going to, I saw that from the staff for the most part, it wasn't something that they're benefiting from a lot, but is there going to be any gaps, from a resident standpoint?
The bounce back was not through this regional planning commission. That was available to anybody.
Okay.
So it wasn't exclusive to anybody that was a part of a regional planning. Marquette and Green Lake both got a lot of grants. So it's not done through the commission.
Well, can I correct you there? We do administer this program. So we take in the applications, we award the funds, we mail the checks, we do all that. The way that the program works is a statewide program, and they contract with 9 regional partners across the state to cover administration of the program. So basically, we contract with the state, they give us the money, we run the program based on their guidelines. So we would continue to do so for Waushara County. The program's set to end at the end of the year. Waushara County is a member to the end of the year. Melissa is correct. We do run it for Green Lake and Marquette County too. But you could always ask, well, if we didn't have counties that were members, we probably wouldn't be covering, these 3 or 4 counties. There might have to be another entity that the state contracts with to cover them. Since we only had 2 out of the 10 in our region, we said we would cover those. If that were, a different number, maybe it would have looked differently in terms of administration.
All right, thanks.
Is there any other questions then? Okay. All right. Well, with no one else.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Thanks, Kevin.
With no one else wanting to testify, we'll end the public hearing. And then we'll move into public comments. And we do have 2 public comments. First is Alan Lucchini, Emergency Management Director.
Good evening. Just want to give a quick storm update. As you all know, last Wednesday night, a storm moved through Waushara County and caused some damage in many of the townships in Waushara County. There was one EF1 tornado in the town of West Bloomfield, and the rest were, National Weather Service has determined it was just straight line winds for the rest of the county. It still caused damage nonetheless. It doesn't make it any less or any bit more if it wasn't. Doesn't matter. But because of that, we still have today at 4 o'clock, we still had 54 services that did not have power, working to restore some power in our area. Compared to what it was, it's still minimal, but if you have one without power, it's a big deal. So hopefully soon they'll get their power back. I did do a pre-application to the Wisconsin Disaster Fund for our townships, our municipalities. Just to kind of get the ball rolling there. So the townships can apply for the Wisconsin Disaster Fund money. That's not FEMA money, it's state money. That's allocated for strictly this storm cleanup, storm damage to the municipalities. It's not available for individuals, just to the towns, city and villages. And if you need more information on that, I did send a lot of emails out regarding that. I'd be happy to talk with anybody. I just want to stress that it's not available for individual people. It's for the entire municipality. So, and there's a formula that we can work out that determines if you're eligible or not. Most people, or most townships in this case, probably will be eligible for some funds. We did have a couple questions on the tornado sirens. I just want to remind everybody that the tornado sirens aren't owned by the county. They're owned by whatever township or municipality that they're located in. So if they don't work, we're kind of directing back to the towns, villages, and city to discuss that further. I think a few years ago, the county had stopped repairing them and updating them. They kind of gave them back to the townships and municipalities. Other than that, I think that's all I have. Is there any questions? Comments?
Well, we normally
we don't.
but
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're good.
Thank you, Alan. No,
All right.
it was very, very good
I can
job.
talk to you afterwards too.
All right, now we have Larry and Jerry, is it? And just so you know, you have 3 minutes to address. Okay.
My name's Larry Sontag. I and my wife Jerry. We live at 1519 in the town of Poisippi, and we also have 1508 in the town of Poisippi. Now, we've had that land for 20 years. We come to the zoning and everything, and we are not in the flood zone. However, in the last 4 years, Dean Gaffner, the DNR, and the Corps of Engineers have been flooding our property. And it's not just a little bit, it's like 10 inches. We have all kinds of pictures if you guys want to see them. And we want help. We get nothing from the DNR, nothing from Gaffner, and nothing but from the Corps of Engineer. And we call them all the time, call Madison. We get nothing. And after it stays around for about a month, it's pretty scummy water out there. And we're just worrying about, is that water and that scummy water going in the groundwater? And all you guys should come out and Labor Day for a picnic, because there is 10 million mosquitoes out there, and you got to dress to go outside like you're going in the 10-degree weather. But nobody cares. And we need a lot of help. We want it stopped. I mean, we've had this for 20 years, and we put 20 years of work in it, and we're getting old, and we pretty soon we'll want to enjoy it. But with all this water and shit, we need help, somebody. But nobody, the DNR and the Corps of Engineers and Dean Gaffner will not answer or won't come out when the water is deep. I mean, we got a transformer on the ground, and it gets within an inch of getting in that transformer. And the this electric company comes out to make sure it's all right. But when you can't walk with 10-inch boots on up and down your road, it's bad. And we live on a private road. So really the Gaffners and nobody but whoever owns property has a right to it. They just did it. And they built a big, a berm back there, like 40 feet wide and 40 feet deep and forever long. And that comes up to our drainage ditch for all the property up there, and the water's running uphill. Nobody believes me that water runs uphill, but trust me, if you come out there then, and nobody will, it runs uphill.
Sure.
So, we're just asking for somebody help us,
Okay.
All
right. Well, thank you for your comment, Larry.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Okay. That's our public comments. There's no unfinished business. Move into new business. First is the building project update. Kurt?
Evening, everyone. Good to see you tonight. I got several things to go through with you today. I will end with some pretty pictures, and I would like an opinion. I know it's not an official vote, but we're looking for some direction from the board on the EOC. And kind of want to talk about the government center, and then we'll go into highway shop, Poisippi, and then some dates. So our government center was impacted by the straight line winds. Our job trailer rolled on its side, twisted up a little bit. We had some forms that went down, some rebar that was damaged. The forms have been taken off. They were forming up a wall. And then the rebar, we actually had the structural engineer come out and do an inspection on all the rebar because I was concerned about the condition of it. The vertical bars that were bent, we are replacing. And then there were some dowels that were in the foundation that were not affected. So minimal damage in regards to the progress that's done there. But we did lose about a week's worth of time because we had to rework some of the forms and replace all of that. So we do have a different job trailer out there. So we don't have the bent one, so you don't have to walk into a bent trailer, but we did get that cleaned up. But very thankful that no one got hurt. I was talking about that with our team. If it would have happened during the day, I'm sure we would have been prepared, but I don't know if I would have had them off the site. So it always makes you reflect on your emergency response and how do you deal with all of that. So just thankful no one was hurt, and we keep moving forward with the project. So that's where we are with the storm. The project, you can see when you're out there, foundations are getting in place on the northwest corner. And we started there because that's the deep area of the foundation as we start to work back in towards the street or towards Division. That is a lower foundation area. It'll go quicker when we start to just do frost walls, but we're doing the deep area first and working our way to the south. We do have steel delivery scheduled for sometime in August. We don't have a definite date yet, but that's when you'll start to see some of the red iron to go up. Right now, all indications is that we're on track to be able to meet those dates. And the overall schedule is where it needs to be. There hasn't been an impact in the end date. We build some cushion time in our schedule for weather. I don't schedule it for high winds or tornadoes, but we are able to absorb some of that time with some of the weather-related delays that we may encounter. So all in all, the government center is moving along well. The highway shop and Poisippi, both of those projects are out for bid. We did have pre-bid meetings for both of them, and we had very limited attendance. We had a couple contractors attend each one of them. And after we researched some of the other contractors that we had contacted, they had asked for an extension in time to build, and they would participate in bidding the project. So it's forced us to push back the bid date, and we've moved the Poisippi project back to a bid opening of July 7th, and we pushed the highway shop back to a bid opening of July 12th. That impacts the building and grounds. So our typical procedure for this process is that we have a bid date, public opening. We read the bids aloud, and then we need about a week's time for our team to go through and vet those bids to make sure that they are in compliance with the scope of the bid documents, which are the drawings and the specifications, and then bring to the Building and Grounds Committee those recommendations for bid awards for those contractors. And that's why I have asked the Building and Grounds if we could move that meeting to July 18th for us to bring those bids for those two projects to them. And I was pushing to try to get it so Building and Grounds done so that we can meet with you on the 19th. And I'm wondering if there would be consideration, and we can come back to this after I get to the EOC, if there would be consideration of pushing your board meeting this month to July 21st instead of the 19th. It would give us a day or two to work with Jeff to talk about some financing options, because as you all understand, our projects have been coming in over budget. And what we need to do is we need to take action on those contracts. And the Building and Grounds Committee has been authorized to approve those contracts as long as it stays within the realm of the master plan and the budget. As soon as we dip over the top of that, it needs to come back to county board for consideration of whether we just don't do some of the projects, whether you refinance or not refinance, but finance additional dollars to go above and beyond what you borrowed before, or just change or change the scope of some of those projects. So it's my goal to get all of that for you in one meeting because the bids are only going to be good for about 45 days. And in the environment or the climate for contractors, we can't extend that longer because of volatile markets. And I think you all understand that. So time is kind of an essence. So it would be helpful for us timeline wise if we could meet on the 21st. I understand there may be some overlap with some of your public hearings that you have for zoning. So we can get to that, but that is an important component. And I'd like to give Jeff some time to bring you some numbers so you can have some consideration on how that would impact you. And we really won't know that until I get those bid amounts. So that brings me to the EOC, the EOC edition. We are coming to the end of the SD package, which is the schematic design package, and that is really the floor plan and an elevation of the building. And we were at that in the meeting the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that has come up for discussion is really the construction of the roof and what does it look like. And it's coming down to two options. Either it's a sloped gable roof like you see here, or it's going to be a flat roof. And we've asked Venture to put a couple of different photos here. And I apologize that I'm circumventing our procedure because this would typically come to building and grounds and then come here. But the timing element, I thought let's get it in front of the board. So I apologize that I'm changing the order here. But what you're seeing here is the addition to the existing law enforcement center on the west side of the campus. And what Venture has done here is they've mirrored the finishes that are already on the existing building, and then they've matched the slope. And you can kind of see the ridge line behind that first canopy that's there that runs up. That's about where the addition is. So they've added that mechanical space, that louvered space that's kind of that dormer that's on that gable. They've added that canopy because that would be the entrance for the EOC, and they didn't want it to be too pronounced that people going to the law enforcement center would know that the law enforcement center is the first place you go, but then there's actually kind of a calling card to say, hey, here's where the EOC entrance is. And they're going to do their best to spec the same burnished or the block that's there, as well as the roof. So one of the discussion points that we had was we won't match those finishes exactly. So even though we go with a standing seam roof, the color is faded over 20 some years of the existing law enforcement center. There's going to be some changes there. The reason I'm telling you that is it's not going to look as pretty as this picture. There will be color differences when we go to move into that direction if we choose this option. Go to the next slide. This is just from another angle. So one of the other elements, and if you've been out there, you understand that there is some topography issues. We're adding a retaining wall right there that comes from that south end all the way back to Division, that wall with the railing on it. And the reason for that is that we wanted to get additional parking that's kind of at grade to be able to allow individuals to extend that parking down to that area. There is an existing drive there that would be eliminated, but this does give a pretty key definition for sheriff's traffic with squads would come in off the south end to get to that lower level, and then individuals coming into the EOC would obviously be on that upper level. So that gives you an idea of what would happen with the topography there. Next slide. This is just coming from the law enforcement center. So you see where the young lady is there. That's actually the existing law enforcement entrance. And then beyond it is where you would see the EOC. So just an extension of what the existing facility would look like. Next one. Just another angle showing where the EOC entrance would be. This is from the lower level looking up, get you an idea of the height of that retaining wall. And then this is the flat roof. So building footprint stays the same. The roof obviously is different. So they kept the sloped gable look for the main entrance to the EOC, but then this flat roof would be similar to what we have in the government center. It would end up being a TPO system or EPDM. It would probably spec TPO, and it would not match the line. The building envelope would still look the same with finishes. This one really just changes from the roof line. Next slide. Gives you a different element. You can see the units that sit up on the roof. Those are actually rooftop air handling units. And those would sit in there. That's a packaged unit that would get you your heating and cooling all combined into that one unit that would be on the roof. We would actually provide a doorway through that, the gable or attic space from the existing law enforcement center for the maintenance staff to come out and service that equipment. But it does give a definite different look. It's not a continuation of the law enforcement center. So it definitely looks different than the rest of the imagery. Next one. This one here, it's not going to look much different because you can see that just that little bump of the parapet wall is all you're going to see behind there. But the gable would not extend, but this view doesn't change much. Again, this is the same location from the last one. So reason that we brought this before you is that John Keene, I know some of you don't know John, but John was from Venture. He's recently retired. John and I were the ones that went through the master plan. And when we put the master plan together, when you're speaking conceptually, you have to put together budgets based on the way that you're proposing or thinking that the building would be constructed. And we always had anticipated that the government center and this EOC would be a flat roof construction. And through the course of this design, it's been made apparent that staff and Mark has actually attended a couple of our meetings, and they like the look of the gable because it looks like it fits. It's just a continuation. Outside of it, we're all aware that the finishes aren't going to look the same. There is a cost difference between the two of them, and again, this is ballpark. We haven't bid it out, but it's going to be about a $750,000 increase to have a gabled roof on that building. Now, the reason that comes into play is that the HVAC system that has to go in there is different. It won't be able to be a packaged unit because we actually have to have the condensers either down on a lower level, or we have to have a separate tie into the chiller that's there. So it increases the cost from the HVAC side, and then just the overall construction. What we would do with that gable, it'd be a precast floor in there, and it would also be a trussed gable system. If we did a flat roof, it would be bar joist and deck, which is a more cost-effective solution to that roof. Just a performance issue in regards to how it would function. So there is a cost element that's associated with it, but it has been referenced by the committee that's working on it that if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. And we wanted to get that before all of you to kind of get your first, I guess, your thoughts when you saw it, and then some direction as to where we would head with finalizing that design. That's a great point. The TPO roof typically comes with a 20 to 25-year warranty. And the standing seam, you can get standing seam roofs that have a 50-year warranty. So there is performance difference there. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the standing seam hasn't had issues in that amount of time and that you would have fading. TPO I've had last, not TPO, but EPDM, a flat roof has lasted longer. But the standing seam would probably give you a longer performance issue on the roof.
How about the air handler unit that's up there?
Yeah, the air handling unit, the life cycle of a rooftop unit itself, that the one that's on the flat roof, is somewhere between 15 and 25 years. I've had ones that you've got ones on this building that have lasted longer than that, but you typically want to replace them in that amount of time. When you're looking at a condenser and a air handler that's enclosed, not out to the elements, I've seen them that have ranged and lasted 25 to 30 years. I've got some that are 40 to 50 years on sites, and because they're indoors, they perform better. So there is performance components tied to that. So
it seems to me that flat roofs have a tendency to leak. Schools put flat roofs on all the time, and they're continually repairing them.
So I can tell you what's happened in the world of flat roofs. So you'll see that a lot of flat roofs nowadays don't have the aggregate on them. They used to use the aggregate to hold the rubber down from blowing off, right? And it actually wasn't fastened to the substrate or the insulation that's there. TPO now actually comes in and it's fully adhered, and it's a plastic rather than a rubber, and EPDM can be the same way. And a lot of times what happened is that aggregate, people walking on it, cause damage because you're actually, you're stepping on a waterproof membrane with something that could cut it. So going to something that is fully adhered has been helpful, but it still takes a beating from the sun, expansion, contraction, cracking, those sorts of things. So most commercial buildings are a flat roof. To see a sloped roof it's not that it's don't do it. It's just the cost is what a lot of times drives that. So, either option, I think you're going to have a solution here that's going to perform well for you, right? The looks, aesthetics are a component, function that's there. And I think there was a comment made, you want to make sure that the public, when they come by, understand that it wasn't like, what did they do? Why does it look so much different? That the continuation of the slope from staff's perspective and thoughts is that would be the best option.
Okay, is there any other questions for Kurt? I have one, in going back to Poisippi, has the environmental impact study been complete there then?
Yes.
But that's all done?
Yes.
Okay, I hadn't heard that, so.
Yep.
All right. And then about next month, if we would move the meeting to the 21st, is just in a general consensus, would that work for everybody?
I won't be here.
Or, well, what would be another plan to move to the next week?
Well, I don't know if you'd be opposed to meeting at 5:30 that day. I think we're going to be in and out of here in an hour and a half. I mean, I even think an hour we could probably, my intention is to get you the options, and Jeff will probably spend more time talking about money. You'll want to talk to him about money more than me. But I think that within an hour and a half, we could be out of here if we started at 5:30.
It would just depend on the other business that would have to come before, because that would be the only one, as that's where looking is just one to be in the 21st.
I can't be here.
Okay.
Otherwise, we could do it on the 20th. I mean, I'm looking to get at least a little bit of time rather than having it back to back, because what I'm anticipating to that building and grounds, there's going to be some questions that I need to get some information for you. To turn that around in 24 hours is probably not realistic. And I want to make sure that I'm getting you the data, because it's going to be important discussions there.
Okay.
So
how about Wednesday, the 20th? Because then we wouldn't have a time limit, I would guess. You don't know what's going on. Megan, do you have any? Okay. I know we're not supposed to look at our phones, but if you have to look at your phone to see what your dates. Okay. No, what I'm saying, you can look at it to see what you got going on. So,
so before you leave, can I get, and I know it's not an action item, but I would like some feedback on the design of the roof. Flat or gabled? Thoughts?
Gable.
Gabled? Anybody else?
Flat. Flat.
so
You like the gabled? Heard flat?
Flat. $750,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh. Yeah, but you're looking at how many million already? What's a few more thousand?
well, and the thing, I guess
I
it'll
don't
be,
think like that. I'm sorry.
it'd be more a question for, I guess it's hard to state that at this time without knowing what the rest of the project is going to be,
Well,
how much more it's going to be, because that may influence us a little bit.
and I will agree that 750,000 is a lot of money. And it's one of those elements that within a month, when we come back, we need to give them some direction. Could we go the opposite way? If you say, hey, we want to save the 750, we're at a point where we could. It's not like we're
Set in
the
stone.
point of no return, right?
Okay.
But if I had all of you say, hey, I really like the gabled, and we head down that route, and then we get to July and we have to talk about making some changes, that would be something you could consider, and we wouldn't be too far down the road.
Right.
So
Kurt, can I
Go ahead.
ask what the original thought of how much the EOC was going to cost roughly? Because
Originally-
that'll give me kind of a perspective on the 750.
yeah, originally the EOC, we had it about $2.7 million.
It's a big difference.
It's a big difference.
No, and that's the element that we have to consider. And I think that's one of the things is when we talk about additional borrowing, that's to me why July is so important. We're going to have to make determination of, are we going to do additional borrowing, or are we going to cut some scope out of the master plan?
Okay. And we can go on the 20th if that works for everybody, because then we won't be invading in any other meeting that day. So we'll plan on the 20th, one day later, next month.
Okay.
Okay. At 6, 20th at 6.
So you guys didn't help me, because I kind of took 50-50 on gabled
That's where
or flat. Gable? Okay.
Okay, a lot of gables. All right. That's the direction that we'll head. And like I said, we wouldn't be too far down the road in July if you say, hey, let's consider that. And we can explore that. So,
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anybody else? All right. Thank you,
All right.
Kurt.
Sorry it took so long.
That's okay. It's important stuff we have to talk about. Okay. And then our county administrator's monthly report. Ms. Pingle.
Hello. Since we're talking about the building right away, I'll start off by sharing that the department heads have all met with the furniture people, and I have to say, Samuel's group was really impressed by all of our department heads' willingness to really think about their operations, look at what they need, what they don't need. They talked to their staff and they came back and they did a lot of cost cutting. We cut lots of chairs out. And so I just wanted to share that positive news that they were really working on cutting costs, and it took a lot of time, but it was very beneficial. And one of the department's heads even thanked me, and she said, thanks for making me look at the operations of how we're doing business. So it was a positive experience. With the storm, I can answer any questions if there is anything. Like you had a question maybe. I got a chance to get out in the community with Alan, and I have to say that the sheriff's department jumped in, the zoning department jumped in. Everybody was very helpful, and just stopping at people's places, and they're trying to pull out utilities out of trees and telling them to not do that. It was quite humbling, and so it was I wanted to get out in the community more, but not that way. But I did get to see a lot of the county and met a lot of people. And just wanted to share that the sheriff's office used the drone. So I think the zoning did some GIS did plotting of where the damage was done. So it was quite interesting. And then they also did like a utility map of which part of the county has what utility, because there's 3 different utilities within our county. So I would like to put together some sort of worksheet for people when something like this happens. Like I had a question. My roof was ripped off. Do I have to contact zoning, or can I just put it back on? Like there's certain questions. And so like what are the utility numbers? Who do I contact about debris cleanup? And so I think it's something that we might be able to put in with tax bills, and then maybe get it on our website of, quick links of when, it's not like we don't get storms here quite frequently. So I'll be working with Alan and probably zoning and get any of the other questions that we had and kind of put it together in a flyer format, and then also link that anybody can access. Any questions on the storm? No. I did want to share that I do have a few of my departments that are already either at budget or going to be over budget. The medical examiner and the courts were on our 14th jury trial already this year. And it doesn't look like it's slowing down. So they're going to be over their budget soon. So just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on that. And we'll just start looking at how we're going to handle that. But trials are trials, and there's nothing that we can really do to change that. And with regard to the task force, they're still moving forward with the retention, onboarding, recruiting, and hiring. The recruiting, they're working on some of the welcome letter formats, the onboarding. They're working on checklists to make sure everybody that gets hired here gets the same information instead of everybody having their own check sheets. And then there was a county employee survey that was done. And so we got the results back. So it got to every employee, whether they had a computer access or not. We had paper copies, compiled those, and we just had a meeting about it today. And we're going to be doing kind of a follow-up survey and to start to target some of the issues that we see that were kind of themes, and start communicating with the staff on what we're doing, and then soliciting questions from them on how we can use this as an opportunity to do better. And of course, it wouldn't surprise anybody, communication is probably the number one thing that everybody, that's a lacking of any organization. It's always communication. So we're just trying to learn how we can communicate better and then do that outreach to the staff. So the department heads met today. and then I'll just keep you posted on that. We had our second cookout. Kevin from Parks and his staff put it together. They had over 80 people, I believe it was this last time, right out in the front. Big success. It's kind of good for building rapport, and I would say 80 people is pretty phenomenal. So they're going to do it every few weeks and see if we can keep people engaged. And all of our department head positions are filled. Later in the meeting, you'll meet our new EMS director, and he's working hard on staffing and hiring right away out the gate. So I'm happy to report that, and I think that's it.
Does anybody have any questions for Melissa? No?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll have the Register of Deeds annual report with the Register of Deeds, Heather Straczynska.
It's going to show up. Should I turn the lights off? Okay, good evening. I'm Heather Straczynska. I am the Register of Deeds. My office currently has two new deputies, Heather Boehm and Louise Schreiner. I hired both of them. They started in May of this year. They're both catching on rather quickly, which is great. There's a ton to learn, so we're taking one procedure at a time. And then I wanted to share a video with you that was created by one of our recording vendors, along with a few of the registers throughout the state. I think it's a really good depiction of our history and what is in our office. Unmuted, I think.
It's not mirroring the TV, is it?
It says it. It says it. No.
I personally think it's cool to see the different offices and how different they look and how many of those in the video don't have baby blue like I do in my vault. Where am I pointing at? There we go. Okay. So then just a few data slides. So 2021 was another record year for recording of documents, real estate, refinances, sales, all of the above. It was the second year in a row, 2020, and then just when we thought that it wouldn't get any busier, we had 2021. Vital records did go down a little bit in 2001 compared to 2020. And I think a lot of that was because people were traveling outside of the country a little bit less. There was less needs for passports, fewer weddings or large weddings anyways. And then can't think of the third thing. Other revenues and fees that we collect, our online revenues also increased in 2021. We have two ways of getting our documents online. One is a monthly subscription, one is a pay-as-you-go type situation. And then the land records modernization fee, that's $8 per document that gets put into the Land Records Modernization Fund for our county land records offices to use on different things. In 2020, we set a record for putting fees back into the general account, and that was $79,000 then. In 2021, we exceeded that by almost $10,000. Our numbers have decreased already for this year compared to last year, year to date. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the interest rates are rising still, while the housing market is still hot and the values are there. There's less houses on the market. And so I suspect that the rest of this year and then into 2023, I think we're going to level off and kind of go back to normal, whatever that is. A couple of the big things that I worked on at the beginning of this year, knowing that I was going to have substantial staff turnover, I had started a policies and procedures binder. I was able to get those all completed before I got my new staff on, and that has been just a huge training tool. And then I also was able to get the 17 reports that I was given by the treasurer's office for the tax foreclosures. Those 17 reports, there were 28 parcels, and each one of those parcels is anywhere from 30 to 60 years back to search. And I was glad to get those done because I'm sure that Jessica, our treasurer, is probably going to give me another pile here in the next few months. I'm super excited to tell you that Wisconsin Act 168, which had to do with Chapter 703 condominiums, finally passed March of this year. That was legislation that I worked on with our legislative committee for all of 4 years, if not longer. Some of you may have heard about Daniel's Law. This is a law that was passed in New Jersey in response to a district court judge's son and husband were killed in their home. Our association is watching this very closely. There's currently federal legislation where there's 41 co-sponsors. This is a big deal for us, especially at the county, because so many of our records are public. And when you talk about any sort of shielding, while it's good legislation and we are on board with it, we need to make sure that we're at the table, because it's not just as simple hitting a button and saying that, oh, the address is hidden. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So I know that our association is working to put some legislative ideas together, merging Arizona and Missouri, and then hopefully presenting that to some of our state representatives so that, again, we at least have a seat at the table. We want to be part of it. And then if anybody's interested, at the September WCA conference, Stacy Hoffman, who's the Jefferson County Register of Deeds, and Scott Moore, who is with Fiddler Technologies, who happens to be my recording vendor. They're going to do a presentation regarding CRISP, is what we're calling it here in Wisconsin. So if you have any interest in that, I suggest going. They're both very good presenters. Just some of my goals and looking ahead in the near future. I'm working on 3 larger scanning projects. And then once I have my new staff comfortable with the day-to-day tasks, I'm going to get them started with some of the prep work for the tax foreclosure reports, because not only is it time consuming to do the actual searches, but it's time consuming to get the maps pulled and the tracks pulled and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be easy for, I shouldn't say easy, that'll be a good task for them to get that ball rolling. So then I can jump in and do the more complicated searches. And then in the fall, in October, our WADA conference is combined with Wisconsin Land Information Association. This was a conference that I had planned back in 2020 when I was president, and it got postponed what felt like 100 times. But I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a collaboration of how county land records offices can work together and how we use each other's data and all that kind of good stuff. So that's it.
Where's that going to be, Heather?
I'm sorry, what?
Where is that?
Sheboygan.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Heather? Okay. Thank you, Heather. Very informative. Okay. We'll move into section B, consideration possible action on the following resolutions and ordinance. Letter I, resolution number 29-06-22, resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $30 million note anticipation notes, series 2022A. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Bonfiglio, a second. Second by Mr. Eckstein. All right. Is there any discussion? No discussion. We talked about this last time. So if not, then we'll proceed to vote and vote on your tablets.
Doesn't have it on this.
Asleep. Tim fall asleep.
Okay. The resolution passes. Okay. Number 2, resolution number 30-06-22, a resolution to withdraw from East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Bonfiglio, second. Second by Mr. Kirschner. Is there discussion? Okay. And this will be it'd be a 2/3 vote. So proceed to vote. Okay. I believe it passes. Okay, the resolution passes. Number 3, resolution number 31-06-22, a resolution confirming the appointment of Keith Melvin as Emergency Medical Services Chief. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Bossard, second by Mr. Peterson. Is there discussion?
I'd like to meet them.
We will, yeah.
Few, right? Just want to introduce Keith Melvin. He comes to us as the new chief for EMS. He comes to us with over 30 years of experience. He is already in the ranks, already doing some interviews. And would you like to just give a little bit of an introduction to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Melissa said, my name's Keith Melvin. I've been a critical care paramedic for about 30 years, originated in the Illinois area, migrated down to Texas, and my father-in-law got terminally ill, and my family roots were Wisconsin, and once I was out of Illinois, I wasn't going to go back there. So we moved to Wisconsin, and I came up here with Spirit Medical Transportation as a critical care paramedic. Within 2 months, I was promoted to the manager of communications and physician outreach. So I kind of had duties both in the hospital and with the critical care transport, both ground and nursing. I've been a lifelong firefighter, so I've kind of stepped in both worlds as a paramedic firefighter in Illinois. I'm really excited to be here. I've had 2 weeks with the team and had some great conversations about preserving our culture here in Waushara County while being able to move medicine forward and looking at growing the service into the future. We are currently interviewing internal applicants for our shift chiefs, and we expect all of those to be filled by the end of this week. And we're bringing on 3 additional paramedics that I've kind of reached out to and pulled in our direction for us. I've working at Mid-State Technical College. I've had the opportunity to work with some new paramedics. So keeping your ear to the educational system works really good when you're looking at recruiting. But I'm super excited to be here and lead this team, and we've got a really great team. It's going to be an interesting future for us.
Good.
2020 instructor
Yeah.
of the year for Mid-State. So yeah.
Very good.
Anyone have any questions?
Okay, well, we can proceed to vote. Okay, it passes. Welcome aboard. Thank you, Keith. Nice to have you with us. And now we'll have ordinance number 672, ordinance amending Waushara County zoning maps pursuant of the authority granted in Chapter 58 Waushara County Code, zone change, Erdman Trucking LLC, Town of Marion. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Wadle, second by Mr. King. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, then we'll proceed to vote. You working, Mike? I want to, okay. Okay, it passes. All right, very good. Move into appointments. The Commission on Aging Committee, Della Alvarez from Otoma, term July 1st, 2022 through May 31st of 2025. Eloise Kraus from Fremont, term July 1st through 2022 through May 31st, 2025. And Mariana Larson Neshkuro, term July 1st, 2022 through May 31st of 2025. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Eckstein, second. Second by Mr. Bonfiglio. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. Okay, the appointments all pass. Number 2, Transportation Coordinating Committee. Dallas Gates Regranite, term June 1st, 2022 through May 31st of 25. Marie Carlson DePere, June 1st, 2022 through May 31st of 25. Jeremy Woodliff, Department of Human Services, June of 2022 through May of 2025. Michelle Dreskovich, Watoma, June 1st of 2022 through May 31st of 2025. Robert Canales, Watoma, June 1st, 2022 through May 31st of 2025. William Rosenau, Veteran Services, June 1st of 2022 through May 31st of 2025. And Patricia Langkow, Poisippi, June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2025. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Bossard. Is there any discussion? Oh,
The question, how did somebody from De Pere get on our?
that's a good question. Can you answer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Marie Carlson worked for Waushara Industries for many years, and she still serves this county through the DVR program. So, and she does actually travel here for the meetings. So that's how, yep.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Okay, any other questions? Okay, any discussion? Let's proceed to vote then. Okay, very good. The appointments pass. And finally, the lake management districts, and all of these terms are June 2022 through May of 2024. It's Supervisor John Jarvis for Irigami, Little Hills, Mount Morrison Alpine, Supervisor Mark Piaski, Deer, Pearl Spring, Big Hills, Supervisor Jesse Urban, Fish, Long, Pine, and Pleasant, and Supervisor Wadle, Buse, Silver, White River Flowage, and Upper White River. FSA Representative Sarah Stelter is Johns, and then Kusel, Wilson, Round, Marl, and Porters. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Bossard, second. Second by Mr. Eckstein. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. Okay, the motion passes. Finally, then, is there any board suggestions for future agenda items? And just remember, next month's meeting will be on Wednesday, the 20th. So at 6. So, yes.
Adjourn.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Cap. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. What's that?
I'm actually going to replace all of them.
Oh, you're
It just gives me a reason to do it. Yeah, I'll take it back downstairs.
One time, you know, especially.
Oh, so then it didn't really matter then.
Well, it just makes me do it faster than I am.
Sorry about that. I honestly, it surprised me when I opened it up. Well, it's really hot right there too. So I suppose.
They're all getting hot.
Okay.
I'm wondering if it's some of the hard drives are done.
Okay.
So, thanks to,
Okay.
I know. I think everyone's just too warm to move fast.
Working better, they're bigger, a little bit bigger.
And it's
hard
still
drive.
light out.
Okay.
That's nice.
Your buttons cracked there too.
Right here. Yeah, I saw that today too. And
And it's not that it's gonna be the same.
Yeah, I'll get those ordered.
okay. Yeah, this seems to be working.
Keyboards that we can.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay.
Just gotta see,
Okay.
And it'll be on the book end.
Sure.
So it'll be like, we'll get that really.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I don't.
I know.
Can you
I mean,
sign
I-
Our teeth, I mean.
4 or 5 million and put a.
Okay.